Good day, everybody. So this video is going to be more on what is going on in Eritrea, Ethiopia, and the Tigray province, but more specifically, the root causes of some of the things that are occurring. And I think you have to really look closely first at Eritrea. So Eritrea, for the past 30 plus years, has been under the rule of a dictator, Afwerki, and he has ruled that country since the Marxist government was removed from power in Ethiopia, at which time Eritrea became its own state. Now, for the past 30 years, this state of Eritrea is one of complete autocratic rule with a great emphasis on its military capacity, but more so the universal conscription of its total population. So once you become basically a fighting age male or female, your last year in grade school, and I believe that would be in Eritrea your 12th year, you are then sent to a very large military camp known as Sawa, SAWA, and you spend roughly a year there, followed by your mandatory military service. And there has been reports in which people, citizens of Eritrea, have been in permanent indentured servitude for as many as 20 years. Think about that for a second. 20 years in servitude to the state. And as you saw me kind of scrolling around, I had the general location of Sawa, and I have found it, as you can see. So there is a large, well, not a large, but an airstrip, and then just to the left of the airstrip, you will see here a very large military base, and this is where all peoples of Eritrea are at one point sent for their compulsory indoctrination or military training. And you can see this is a very large facility. I assume these are barracks, and there's probably about 30 or 40 of them there, I would assume. And it goes on and on. But everybody is in Eritrea, to my understanding, at some point is sent to this base early, just prior to getting out of basically high school, and spend a great deal of time here. They are then processed out of this location either to serve directly in the armed forces, or they are then placed in a servitude unit, a unit that goes out and picks crop helps or does road work, and they can spend many, many years doing this. And it's, for all intents and purposes, it is government slavery. The wage is very minimal, if anything, and this is how the country is run, and it's ran like that for decades now. But Eritrea and Ethiopia, back in the early 2000s, late 1990s, entered into conflict over a little patch of earth known as Badme, and here it is. And they fought for years over this right here, and it developed into basically a stalemate with media reports saying that the warfare looked like World War I trench warfare at times. But the Ethiopians eventually occupied Badme, and it was status quo for a long time. There was great animosity between Ethiopia and Eritrea, and the biggest issue for Ethiopia is it does not have access to ports. And prior to the Eritrean separation from Ethiopia, this port here, Assab, served as its main port to the outside world. And with the war, Ethiopia was not able to use said port, so it would have to find alternative ports to use. So then we get to 2019, and the issue of Abiy Ahmed and his great Nobel Prize. Well, how did he get that? Well, he entered into negotiations with Eritrea and returned Badme to Eritrea. And for doing that, Eritrea would then give Ethiopia access to this vital port. And that was able to quell hostilities. Now here's the problem. That agreement is an agreement on paper. There is not a great deal of allowed use by Ethiopia of those ports. So then, how did this relationship with Afwerki, the dictator of Eritrea, and Abiy Ahmed become so close? So close that Ahmed has allowed the armed forces of Eritrea to enter his own country and attack the Tigray province. Well, we believe that preparations for an operation into Tigray was agreed upon during negotiations over the Badme area. Something happened in which Afwerki and Abiy Ahmed agreed that they would then crush their political foes located in Tigray. I'm not going to get too much into the ethnic politics of Ethiopia, but basically Abiy Ahmed, with his Addis Ababa-based government, is of a different ethnic group than the traditional leadership in the past, which has been Tigrayan. And you can look at that issue and say, well, the Tigray was a minority controlling the entire country of Ethiopia. Well, Ethiopia would not exist without Tigray. And you have to go back 80 years before Christ and then another 800 years after Christ to the Aksum Kingdom, or the Aksum Empire, which at one point was basically located in all of Ethiopia and extended into what is now Yemen. But the forefathers of Ethiopia proper started here in Tigray, in Aksum. They created the governance that was never seen anywhere in sub-Saharan Africa. While the Bantu-speaking peoples of sub-Saharan Africa were living in huts, the Aksum Empire, the Aksum Kingdom, had currency. They had an actual written language. They had governance. They were trading with the Roman Empire. They were trading with India. They were doing some really amazing things. And it all started with Tigray, or the people that now live in Tigray.